Hi, my name is Darlene Anderson, and I've been a longtime advocate in Sacramento for families in poverty or for children in poverty. And so I want to talk to you today because my sister called me in a panic this morning about what she had witnessed on the light rail. We had talked about, what was going on in the light rail system over the summer because really the past 2 years since the economy has kind of like tumbled, she's been on the bus. And so she's been catching the light rail out to the north area. And she said that this morning, what she saw was this morning early, there was a sheriff's car and there was a police car. And they were just hanging out at the light rail station waiting for people who didn't have their tickets. And then she went to work, and then I guess when she got off, or she didn't, she went to volunteer. So we all volunteer in the community. We've been longtime volunteers in the community forever. So when she got off and started headed home, she was at Sacramento City College. And behind Sacramento City College were about 6 or 7 squad cars and a paddy wagon. And they were all waiting there. It was a big sting operation, all to take down families and people that were having hardships right now. And, with there are no jobs being here in Sacramento and no one hiring, and regional transit passes have went up because gas prices are so high. And I guess, Roger Dickerson, who is our newly elected assembly member, he thought he was doing a great, providing great support for the corporate side, which is, regional transit. And he signed a law into a new law to improve supposedly passenger safety on the public transportation system. And the assembly bill was Bill 716. And I guess this is happening in the Bay Area too. That's why they're having so many incidents in the Bay Area of over law enforcement. And I think we're experiencing, for the African American community anyway, additional shootings. There was a shooting at the BART station last year. There was a shooting at the BART station this year. And I think that we all need to be terrified of what's happening with our families and our children because we're African Americans. And we've really never been allowed to fully integrate into this system anyway. As far as employment goes, none of the federal dollars go to benefit our community. As far as the state dollars, sure, some African Americans are hired, but mostly we have more African Americans in the prison system than we have in the workplace. And so, you could look at the data all day long, but the dropout rate for African American kids is atrocious. But guess what? Somebody still gets a paycheck. Somebody gets paid to work with African American families, even if they're not providing any support to them. There's no oversight in the state of California for the public education system. And what I'll say is that the only oversight there is that you, as a parent, have to learn how to stand up. But when you stand up too hard, I have seen parents be taken totally under, where their children have been arrested, their families, their houses have been raided. This is just fighting for public education, basic things. I mean, I've been working with a family whose children were special ed in Elk Grove, and they really came after that family. I was so shocked. My father did 26 years in the Air Force. I've never witnessed some of the things that I witnessed here. I guess I was kind of like away from a lot of the things that happened in the struggle for the fight for civil rights, simply because my stepfather was in the Air Force. And when he retired here in Sacramento. And I want to say it used to be that Sacramento was a great place to come and live. But over time, I want to say Sacramento has become for the haves. And if you have not, you don't have to worry. I think they encouraged a lot of people to come here because the welfare system was it gave people money and people came. But the whole thing is that if you got on the welfare system, you didn't do any better. You didn't get a job. You stayed on the welfare system. And so a lot of people winded up not educated and not employed because all of the transition for employment kind of really stopped happening in the 70s. And so now we find ourselves in sitting in a system where the public education system is failing children and putting them out of the public school system from kinder to third grade. And I said, well, how do you expel a kindergartner? Somebody tell me that. But, there's no oversight. Our local governing boards are allowing kinders to be expelled. And you would have to ask yourself, well, what's really going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Some people have jobs and have had these jobs for more than 30 years. And the failure rate hasn't changed. Actually, the failure rate's gotten worse for African American families. And if you are not engaged in fighting for your children, you don't have to worry. Your child is not going to graduate. You can't accept the transfer from a full day program to a program that is 2 hours a day and think that your kid's getting a general education. It's not even a basic education. But I want to really target this bill, because this bill, what's happening in Sacramento City Unified School Districts, they utilize the SARB process quite a bit. So that means that truancy prevention, SARBs are student attendance and review boards. And if your kid is not in school, you don't have to worry. Your student will be SARBed, and your student will be moved from the public education system to a behavioral program or an independent study program, and where there is really no oversight in the district about how well those programs do. And I want to say when Betty Boone was at the capital city, that was the Independent Study Center, it was really working. But now the district has tripled their community day schools or independent study centers, and they have increased the number of academy programs with no oversight of the community. And I recently filed a complaint regarding these academy programs that the public has no input into about the data. The public has no oversight because the governing board's not even sharing information on how well these programs are doing. I guess I'm really getting frustrated with what's happening for families in poverty, and I decided to step up. I decided because this is a new media, a way to get the word out. And 2 minutes at the governing board is never going to be enough to explain what's happening, at least from my perspective. Then I figured that, I should step up. But this assembly bill, how it affects our families is that if you have 2 or 3 children in high school, well, you can't afford to send them all. And so, maybe all of them don't have a bus pass. Maybe all of them don't go to school at the same time. I don't know. I just know that I wouldn't want to be in that situation. And I know that if you're a student in college, if you don't have your bus pass and you're standing at the light rail, you don't even have to be getting on the light rail. They may see it as an intent to get on the light rail. And if they see it as an intent to get on the light rail, well, you're going to get a citation too. And this, is all kind of like pimping on poverty. I say poverty pimps. California, the new poverty pimps, because if they can get enough people that are in poverty that they can take their dimes away from them, well, that's just giving it back to the people who are entitled. And so we have so many law enforcement. I see law enforcement all the time. And I'm more afraid of law enforcement than I'm afraid of criminals on the street. And I kind of stay home because I don't want to be bothered with any of it. I don't want to be bothered with law enforcement. I don't want to be bothered with criminals. And I do know that even in your home, you're not safe from law enforcement because of what they're doing to people's personal devices in their home in Sacramento with Comcast and AT&T and this network management thing where they'll slam your computer and shut it down. And even if you just paid for it 2 years ago, as soon as the warranty's off, you don't have to worry. They tell you to go call the Geek Squad because probably, you don't know it, but the Geek Squad is the people that come and fix your computer and make it so that, you have to go seek some support for a computer repair person. I'm just really tired of no one speaking up on behalf of families in poverty. And I don't care what kind of organizations are here claiming that they're trying to provide support for our families. The deal is that mass communication is not happening. There are so many families that have no idea about what's happening. They see the students on the street and have no idea about why there are so many children in the street. But you could be on a minimum day, and they classify so many students as special ed, move them to special ed, and put them on a minimum day. That's more, the devil's workshop is an idle mind. And so, you have more kids on the street waiting to be taken to jail. And I'm just going to say that, we as community members have to find ways of speaking out and start speaking out because we are risking our personal freedoms, losing everything that we've gained since the 60s. And so I'm standing up, and I encourage you to stand up too. So thank you, and have a good night.